All right, everyone. Well, we have Christmas right around the corner here, so I thought we'd do something kind of fun this week in that we're going to create a cool Christmas light decoration on this house. And the beauty is, doing it this way is that you don't have to go outside and actually string up a whole bunch of Christmas lights. Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't, because Christmas lights do look cool. But here's a cool way to do it inside Photoshop to create a very similar effect in case you want to decorate your house virtually and then send it to your relatives and show them how cool of a job you did on your Christmas lights. So here's what we're going to do. I've got this image of this house. It's perfect for putting Christmas lights on. However, it's in the daytime. But Christmas lights do not look good during the day, so we're going to have to make this image look like it's at night. So real quick and dirty to do that, we're going to go in here in the toolbar and grab the quick selection tool. And I'm just going to go in here into the sky, and it's a relatively simple sky. So we'll start down here in the bottom and just drag around, and it's going to select all the area of the sky. I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer above that and go ahead and fill it. So I'm going to press Shift-Delete, and we'll use 50% gray, normal, okay. So that shape is on its own layer. So now let's go ahead and apply some noise to this, because what we're going to do is create a night sky with some stars up in the atmosphere. So we're going to go under Filter, Noise, Add Noise, do about 100 Gaussian monochromatic, yes. And then we'll go under Filter once again, and this time we're going to go to Blur and choose Gaussian Blur. Give it a very tiny blur. In fact, a 1 pixel blur will do fine. Let's go ahead and do that. Click OK. Then I'm going to open up my levels. Press Command or Control L, or simply go into the Image Adjustment menu, Image Adjustments, Levels. And we're going to go in here and push the dark slider here all the way in until we get the stars that we like. Notice how the stars kind of come into shape. We'll go right about here. Maybe brighten those up just a hair. Just a subtle hint of stars. You don't want to go crazy. You don't want it to look like that. That just looks like snow in space. No, we want to keep it very light, scattered stars here. There we go. It looks pretty good. And now we've got our night sky. Well, let's reselect back on the original background layer and actually treat this house so it looks more like it's in the middle of the night as well. Because right now it looks like it's a daytime house with a nighttime sky. That's kind of weird. So let's go and apply an adjustment layer. We're going to do a levels adjustment here. So let's go and choose levels. And inside of here, we're going to go down here to the output level slider here. And right here with the white slider, I'm just going to highlight that number and input 100. And you'll see that it's really darkened up that image. Really kind of taken the brightness out of it. So that looks good. Well, I'm going to add another adjustment layer to this image. Let's go ahead and add a hue saturation, because at night, things aren't as colorful as they are during the day. They're not getting much light, or any light at all for that matter. So we're going to drop the saturation a little bit. Let's take it down to about -15. So we've down the color, we've down the brightness of it, so it really kind of looks like it's at night now. So now we're going to add our lights. So let's create a new layer at the very top of the layer order, and let's go and grab our brush tool. And I'm just going to use a very simple brush for this. In fact, we're going to go in here and choose this 9 pixel brush here, hard edge pixel brush. And let's push the, make sure the opacity is at 100%. And now we're going to go in here into the brush options. So I'm going to click on this, open up my brush panel, and here we're going to change the behavior of the brush a little bit. So first thing is we're going to select the brush tip shape, and let's go and rotate this around right here so we can actually squeeze this in, making it more of an oval brush shape, which is more like what a Christmas light would look like. And we're going to go down here to the spacing and really just push these apart a little bit. There we go. Let's actually make these a little bit wider than that. Don't need to be quite that thin. And I'm going to go in here inside the shape dynamics and turn off pen pressure. I am using a pressure sensitive tablet, but I do not want it to use pen pressure right now. There we go. So now it looks like kind of a string of lights. Well, now let's go ahead and, obviously when you hang lights, they're not completely straight up and down like it is right here. So there's going to be a little bit of angle variation. So let's put a slight variation of the angle jitter in here and set that to about 10%. Oop. Yeah, that looks okay. So notice it's giving me a little bit of variation in the leaning and the angle of these lights. So now, I think that looks pretty good. Let's go and now turn that off and make sure that white is set as your foreground color. And if you paint across, you see we've got some cool kind of lights going across here. So now let's just put these along the house. Now I did forget to do one more thing. Inside of that shape dynamics section of the brush panel, under the angle jitter, we want to go in here into the control setting and change this to initial direction. That will keep the lights at that specific angle, no matter what direction you go in. So we're going to start down here in the bottom corner of the house, right down here by the garage, and I'm just going to click once and set a shape, and I'm going to hold down the shift key and then go up here and click at the top of the wall. Boom. And it adds the lights. So you can just do that all over the house. So I'm just clicking once at a start point, then hold down the shift key, and then click at an end point, which is along the end here, right there. Boom. So now let's just go all around the house. So we'll just click, hold down the shift key, boom. Click again, hold down the shift key, boom. Very, very cool. So we'll just go ahead and all the way around the house here. Whee! All right, so we jumped ahead here. I'm just going to do a couple of last little parts of the house here. There we go. And we'll leave that one. Let's go and get this front window here. So again, I'm just clicking at a point, holding down the shift key, and then clicking at the end point, and it draws the lights all the way across. So I think we've got most of the lights in place. Looks pretty good. I can go ahead and add more if I wanted to, but I think you get the idea. Now what we're going to do is actually give these lights a little bit more glow. So let's go here and add a layer style. So on that layer, let's go into the layer style menu and go here to outer glow first. Notice it's applying a little bit of that glow. That's great. Let's bring the opacity up a little bit, bring the size up, and let's bring the spread to about 3. Notice how the lights get really illuminated there. Really kind of cool. Now, what I'm going to do is add a drop shadow, but not a drop shadow in the sense you think. Because essentially what the drop shadow is simply a glow that you can offset, which gives the illusion of a drop shadow. But in essence, it is a glow. So we can enhance the glow of our lights with this drop shadow. So we'll activate that, and we'll go in here and give it a bright color, kind of a yellow off-white. And this time I'm going to set the blend mode of this layer style to screen. Really bump up the size and even enhance the spread a little bit there. There we go. And there we're getting a much more glow. Really kind of a nice soft glow coming off those lights. Really like that. That's really cool. Maybe bump up that spread a little bit more. Maybe even bump up the opacity. And this is the cool thing about it. It's a layer style, so we can go in here and adjust it at any time. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and we've got our lights around the house look pretty good. Look at that. It's the holidays. Now, got to make a couple more adjustments, but I want to add one more thing here. I'm going to go ahead and add another layer. And notice a small tree in the front yard here. Well, I'm going to use that same brush, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back into that brush engine and activate scattering. And we're going to push the scattering way up there, and I'm going to go back in shape dynamics as well and really push the angle jitter all the way up, and perhaps even bump up the roundness. Well, just give that slight change there. Nope, I'm going to leave the roundness at 0. Maybe even do some size jitter here. I'll put the size jitter at around 40. But here's what I'm going to do as well. Go in here into color dynamics and take the hue jitter and push it all the way to 100%. Then we're going to start with a color. When you're doing the hue jitter, you have to start with a color. And then I'm just going to go into that tree and just paint some Christmas lights. Some colorful Christmas lights on the tree. Look at that. So festive. Now, to give those lights a little bit of a glow, I'm going to create a duplicate of that layer. Let's create a duplicate. Put a little bit of a blur on it. Do about a 2 pixel blur there. And then here's how you get the lights to really illuminate really, really cool. Watch this. I'm going to press Command J over and over, and it's going to create multiple duplicates of that layer. And those lights will get a little bit brighter. Oop, probably did a little too much there. Probably only really need a couple of copies. And if you want to enhance the colors even more, maybe even change the blend mode. There we go. Now I think that looks good. So now we've got colorful lights on the tree out front. Now, one final thing. The lights are there and everything looks great, but there's a problem. It would be illuminating various parts of the house right here, and perhaps even some of the yard with all the lighting that's on the house right now. So here's what we're going to do. Go and select on that layer that is the adjustment layer. Remember that adjustment layer we added to dim the house, really? It's got a layer mask on it. So go over here in your or the toolbar rather, and grab the brush tool. And then come inside here and get a really soft edge brush, about 100 pixel soft edge brush. And I'm going to go in here and drop the opacity of this brush to about 50%. And then I'm just going to trace around the lighted area. Let's just make sure that no settings are turned on for this brush. There we go. And I'm just going to paint around the lights, and it's going to give me kind of an illuminated look to it. Like it's really illuminating around those lights, giving it that much more realism to it. Let's go in here and brighten this area up. So all we're doing is erasing parts of that, not erasing, but rather masking areas of that layer mask or that adjustment layer away where it would be illuminating the house. Pretty cool stuff. Now, not only that, we'll get down here where the yard is. Like I said, it would be illuminating parts of the yard too. So let's go down here and get a little bit of the bushes, some of the grass here. Just getting a little bit of illumination because it's the holidays. Oops. Now, for some of these areas that are inset a little bit, let's drop the opacity of the brush down even further, maybe even down to about 20%. And just lightly brush out those areas. So see, it's not completely getting rid of it. It's rather just lightening it up a little bit. Ever so slightly. Enhancing that illusion that the lights are illuminating around the house. Very, very cool. But ultimately what you get there is the Christmas house. All built from that daytime image. In fact, if I bring up my layers and hold down the Option key here and click on the eyeball of that original layer, that's what we started with. And that's what we ended up with. Christmas time in the neighborhood.